I remember the summer of 1956, the way one remembers the smell of lilacs, sweet at first, yet tinged with something that wilts before you notice it. I was 12, and the world seemed softer then. My grandmother's old house sat at the edge of a field that rolled toward the woods, its paint the colour of distant clouds, its windows catching the evening light in such a way that they glowed golden, even after the sun was gone. Every afternoon, she would send me into the attic to fetch something, a jar of preserves, an old quilt, a book she swore she had misplaced. It wasn't locked, but I had been told since I could remember that I must never open it. "Your grandfather's things," she would say, as if the words alone made the wood heavier. He had died before I was born, and in the quiet manners of our family, so much about him was left unsaid. One afternoon, while the heat lay heavy on the fields, and grandmother rested in her chair downstairs, I heard something in that attic I had not heard before. A faint tapping, slow, deliberate, coming from the trunk. I stood quite still, thinking it must be the wood settling, yet the sound was too regular, like a hand knocking from within. I left quickly, clutching the jar I had been sent for, my knees strangely weak. Over supper I asked, casually, whether there were mice in the attic. My grandmother looked at me for a very long time before answering, the lamplight trembling between us. "Only what's meant to be there," she said, and went back to her soup. The days passed, yet I found myself listening for it each time I climbed those stairs. And I heard it again, sometimes tapping, sometimes a slow dragging sound, as though something inside was shifting its weight. I told myself it was only my imagination, but curiosity, as it often does in youth, became stronger than obedience. It was toward dusk one evening when I opened the trunk. Inside there was no clutter, just a single suit, folded with precise care, an old pocket watch atop it, and a photograph. The picture was of my grandfather, standing in that very attic. But I dropped the picture, slammed the trunk closed, and fled before the last of the daylight slipped away. That night, I dreamt I was standing in the attic again, but I was no longer 12. My hair was white, my body frail, and beside me was a man in the black suit, his pocket watch ticking too loudly in the quiet. He looked at me with my own eyes and said nothing, only handed me the photograph. When I turned it over, there I was, in my youth, blurry, fading at the edges like a figure in the grain. I told no one. Summer gave way to autumn. Then decades unwound themselves, as they do when you're not looking. The old house was sold, and the attic became someone else's. But some nights, especially in August, I hear tapping in my dreams. I am 80 now, and my hands tremble more than they used to. Last winter, the photograph returned to me in the mail, with no note, no sender. It smells of cedar and damp earth. I keep it folded in the drawer beside my bed, for reasons I no longer try to explain. The man in the picture is standing in the attic where I once stood. The same faint glow in the windows, the same brass-banded trunk at his feet. But behind him, just over his shoulder, someone blurs at the edges, features melting into shadow. This time I realize it is not my grandfather. It is me. And I am smiling.